Hello, I'm Andrew Peach. I'm really excited to be starting our series of talks with brand and proposition. Over the years, I've had a lot of people coming to me with marketing problems. I have to say the vast majority of them have been proposition problems. If you get your brand and proposition right, you'll probably find that everything you do works. On the other hand, if you're stuck with a brand and proposition that isn't quite right, however hard you work, you'll just never get marketing to work for you. So, a starting point, we have a quote from the most successful e-commerce guy of all time, Jeff Bezos. There are two kinds of companies, those that work to try and charge more and those that work to charge less. Both these strategies are absolutely fine, but clearly you can't do both at once. So it's worth just thinking which type of company you want to be. In e-commerce, it's an awful lot easier to be the sort of company that has a strong value proposition, particularly as a market entry strategy. And I guess while we're on the subject of Amazon, they are the elephant in the room. If you're lucky enough to be working in a market that Amazon hasn't entered yet, then I've got a warning for you, they are coming. And for the rest of us, we've got to think quite hard about Amazon. They probably account for around about half of the e-commerce transactions. Most of your customers will have a payment method set up with Amazon. They'll trust Amazon. They may well be able to get an Amazon delivery within 2 hours. And the pricing on Amazon is very good. So you've really got to be very clear that your proposition is dramatically better on Amazon, or frankly, you may as well just not bother. So how do we beat Amazon? Well, there's a couple of approaches. The first approach is product innovation. So for example, one of our customers has freshly roasted coffee. Just a few days before dispatch. The coffee is ground typically just a few hours before it's sent out. So the result is a really fresh taste. And again, that's something that Amazon just can't do. Another example would be some running shoes. And a lot of the stores selling running shoes will video you running, analyse your running style, and then help you choose exactly the right shoe. And again, that's something that Amazon can't do. You've also got ordering innovation. So one of our customers is Parsley Box, who sell food to seniors. And the seniors really appreciate being able to phone up and speak to someone to place the order. They can also order by mailing in a cheque. And again, you certainly can't mail in a cheque to order from Amazon. I suppose the most obvious way of beating Amazon, which is what most people do, is to have your own brand. Which is, I guess, what we're going to talk about now. Really, I think the days of selling somebody else's brand online are pretty much over. I guess this next concept is richness versus reach. Now, it's possible to have a very rich experience. Now, an example of that might be going into a bookstore, where you can look through all the books, you can feel them, you can read them. In most good bookstores, you can probably even get a coffee. Or you've got this approach with a lot of reach, but less richness, such as going to Amazon. Amazon has got millions of books, a much bigger range than you would have in your local bookstore. But it's a much less rich experience. It's not nearly as much fun buying on Amazon as it is in a bookstore. So again, you've got to think where you are on this continuum, and probably in e-commerce, you're probably going to be more down the reach side. So you probably should be thinking about bigger ranges and more choice. So when we're thinking about brand, if this is a new brand, this is what we think you should start out with. If you've already got a brand, you should probably still think it through and put it onto one of these brand wheels. And I'd like to thank the guys actually at Stuff Creative who originally introduced me to brand wheels. I've slightly adjusted it. But here goes. So On the left-hand side of the wheel, we've got the left brain logical stuff, and on the right-hand side, we've got the right brain emotional stuff. We've got facts, we've got personality, we've got what your brand does for the customer, how would you describe it, which are factual, and then you've got how does your brand make the customer feel, and how does your brand make the customer look. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to briefly take you through the process we went through at Machine Labs for our brand wheel. And I think you should just try a similar process with your brand. So first off, practical things. What do you actually do for your customer? And again, here you should be thinking about differentiators. So this shouldn't simply be things that all your competitors do. It should be things that you do a little bit differently. Next up, how would your customers describe you? And again, don't be overly aspirational here. I'm not going to claim to be 20 pounds lighter than I actually am. This is going to be how you really are described. And certainly, you know, at Machine Labs, we're the sort of guys who actually will write maths on a whiteboard on the wall. So, you know, we're going to say we're marketing geeks, but that's true to who we actually are. And now with the facts. So here's some facts about us. Remember though that these facts are a commitment. It's like buying a puppy. You've got to think not only about right now, but you've got to think about the consequences 2 or 3 years into the future. These are facts you're going to have to live with forever. So, you know, make sure that the facts you write down here are something you really are going to deliver forever. And there we are. That's the left brain factual side of our brand wheel complete. So now let's get all touchy and feely and dive into our emotions. The next 5 minutes are going to be like a Hugh Grant movie. Let's start with how your product makes your customers look. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that most of your customers are probably going to receive their delivery in the workplace or in the office. So think quite hard about how that will make them when their colleagues, you know, see the delivery. So think hard about that outer box. I mean, an example would be a diet business as one of our customers. And again, in that diet business, we found that actually customers didn't like having the word diet on the outer. So again, think hard. Make sure that it's something people will be proud to receive. And then think too, as they're using or consuming the product. And again, we're very social animals, so what other people think is important. So imagine how your customer will think as they use your product. Let's have a little bit of empathy here. I guess thinking about my customers, I know how hard it is working in marketing. There's constant sales pressure. You have a good month and you're straight on to the next month. It's a very high stress job. Typically the most important job in an e-commerce business. So we understand that, and we're here at Machine Labs to make your job easier. And you know, do everything we can to de-stress you, help you feel in control. And again, you need to go through this same journey. Think about you know, the pressures your customers are under and what you can do to support them. Wow, so I'm feeling pretty cool and relaxed. So this is your brand personality that we're now going on to. And remember, this personality is the tone of voice, and it's not just the tone of voice for your marketing, it should be throughout the entire experience. So it should be tone of voice, you know, on the order acknowledgement email, the tone of voice of your customer service people as they deal with you, I mean, brand is so much more than the logo and advertising. Remember, it's the entire experience that the customer has dealing with you. So there we are, that's the emotional right-hand side complete. Now it's also just worth thinking here the type of brand you are and whether it is more of a right-brain emotional purchase or a left-brain factual purchase. So here at Machine Labs, this is business-to-business software. So in actual fact, although there is an emotional component, we are definitely more of a left-brain rational purchase. Things like fashion or cars are very clearly a right-brain emotional purchase. Now, you know, my car, which my friends cruelly call the midlife crisis mobile, is very much an emotional purchase, a right-brain purchase. On the other hand, the insurance I bought for it was a factual left-brain purchase. So again, think about your product and think, is it more of an emotional purchase or more of a rational purchase? So, what we're missing here is the two, three or four things at the absolute core of the brand. What is the most important thing about your brand? So take a good look through and you know, think about what's the critical things. Now for us, it was actually quite easy. Expert has come up quite a few times. Clearly, you know, we have to be experts. Being easy to use and easy to buy is very tricky in software. We thought that was extremely important and wanted to make that an absolute core bit of our brand. And you know, for some Shakespeare, this above all, to thine own self be true. You know, you've got to make sure your core values are actually who you are. Don't just make something up. And voila, we have a lovely summary of the brand. And again, what I quite like about this brand wheel, unlike a brand book that can be 40 pages long, nobody reads it. If they do read it, they probably forget it. A brand wheel is small enough that people can just keep it with them at all times. And indeed, I've had ours printed on business cards, which I can then hand out to our key marketing suppliers and our staff. And again, one of the things that I like about it is it moves assessment of marketing collateral away from I like this or I don't like this to how well does this marketing collateral match the brand wheel. And when you hear people saying, you know, this isn't on the brand wheel or this matches it great, as a marketing director, you know you've won. So there we go. That was quite straightforward. So just the brief summary. Start with thinking through the value proposition, and then that critical question, how do we beat Amazon? And if you can't answer that, you should just stop at that point. I know quite a lot of people who've attempted to beat Amazon, none of them have. Remember, in e-commerce, generally a sort of reach approach of a bigger range is usually going to work better than a very rich approach. Set down both your left brain rational factors and your right brain emotional factors in the brand wheel, and then make sure you measure all your marketing material against that brand wheel. So, thank you very much. See you next time.